Hey everyone, welcome to my channel as a married man. I want to thank you all for tuning it in and checking it out. It is here where we talk about love, life, relationships, and more, all from the perspective of a married man. So please, everyone, if you can, hit that like button and definitely subscribe to the channel. I would totally appreciate it. So my last video was on a YouTuber, a TikToker, and overall social media, I guess, personality by the name of Melanie Hamlet. And like a lot of my videos, I choose them at random, like videos that come across my recommended feed by either like small or large YouTube content creators. And this time, a video of Melanie titled "Is Marriage a Trap for Women?" Showed up. So I was intrigued, like to hear a woman's take on marriage, and so I did the review, and I watched it, and I thought it was a good video from her, and I thought I gave a pretty objective opinion. But it turned out to be one of the most like commented on videos that I've made, and believe it or not, most of the comments were by women, and yeah, I'm happy about that, because I don't want to be one of those just preaching solely to a male audience of like NGTOW red pill types. Like, I like to think of myself, well, at least I try to be as objective as possible when I offer my take, as a married man. Like, I try to be on the sideline at the 50-yard line. Like, I try to see things from both points of view. Um, but these comments that these women left, they were pretty surprising to me. And I thought I'd take one more look at a Melanie Bartlett video and incorporate what I saw in some of those comments into it. Because, like I said, I try to be objective. I try to see things not just as a married man, but from both sides, so to speak. I think it's only fair, but the comments that a lot of these women left made me really question how objective I am. But anyways, so I showed another Melanie marriage video. I'm not gonna play the entire thing this time and dissect it. But I want to watch it through a more like an open lens, especially with a lot of my last comments in mind. I'm gonna play some clips. I'm gonna comment on them and then maybe see if there was something I missed, if that makes any sense. So before I begin, I want to give props to Mel Hamlet herself on TikTok. Respective rights to her, of course. It's her video. I will post a link if you want to the video itself in full. If you want to go ahead and watch it, I'll go ahead and post that link for you. But I'm not a TikTok expert or anything. I don't know if this video has a title. I couldn't really find one, so I'm just gonna call it "The Marriage is Hard" video. But here's the first clip for you on Mel's video. Here we go.
Marriage is hard, and till death do us part. Those were created to trap women in marriages that they hate. Those were created to manipulate women into thinking that being miserable in a marriage where you are centering another person and all your needs are not that important, it normalizes that. It makes you not question that. Women's loyalty is exploited by the institution of marriage.
So I disagree with her initial argument here. She talks about marriage is hard. Till death do us part. Uh, like these statements were created to trap women into marriages that you hate. Like those statements were created to normalize being miserable in a marriage. And I totally disagree. Like she's talking about marriage vows, I guess, like till death do us part, or for better or for worse. Like those vows that every couple make upon marriage, they're basically promises you make to your partner, and I don't understand where this normalization of being miserable comes from. Like, I will say though, like as a married man, if your husband or wife, like, is indeed making you miserable, like if they're making your life hell, like, and you need to get out, like, that's all there is to it.
The shit we've been taught that's what we're so good at. They're counting on us. They're relying on us to buy into that so that we stay in relationships with men so that they can go do their thing and we just come along and clean up after them so that we make their home and their world and their children and their bedroom and everything in their life comfortable for them. So marriage is not hard for men. It's hard for us.
All right, so Mel talks about marriage here as being some sort of like domestic servitude hell, like set up by men, and that's not how marriage is supposed to be. She talks about, they're counting on us, they're relying on us to stay in the marriage so they, being men, can F off and do whatever while their wives are stuck in this nightmare of kids and dishes. Like, I would say, unless you're in an arranged marriage, which is a thing in parts of the world, like, unless that's the case, like, women should know what they're getting into. Like, a married man talking here, you date, you're engaged, you might live together for a while. That's usually how it goes, am I right? Like, there's a process, there are steps. You meet, you date, you court, whatever. The steps continue, you get engaged, you end up living together maybe for a little bit, or if at all, or then you get married. Like, my point is, like, you know what you're getting into as a wife and as a husband, hopefully at least. That's what the whole dating process is about. You're getting to know this person. You're figuring out, is he the one or is she the one? But anyways, the way Melanie talks, it's like the moment you get married, a switch flips and your husband hands you a mop and he goes out to play golf. Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I can understand if this happens over time, like couples get complacent, the dynamic of the relationship gets thrown off over time. But she makes it sound like all women, once they're married, they're thrown into this role of Cinderella, and that just doesn't make sense to me.
If you are not in a marriage with a partner who values and respects you as much as they value and respect themselves and is not a teammate, marriage is going to be real fucking hard.
All right, so Mel goes on to state here that if you're not with a partner who values and respects you as much as they value and respect themselves and is not a teammate, the marriage will be really effing hard. Yes, I agree. That's kind of what marriage is all about, Like, that's the upside of marriage. That's the ideal marriage right there. Marriage is a partnership. It's open communication, respect, teamwork. Like, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not honoring and loving and appreciating your partner, and if you're throwing your wife into this, as I said, a Cinderella role of domestic servitude hell, then yeah, like, guys, you deserve to kind of get divorced. Like, ladies, you deserve better. But it just amuses me how Mel, she talks about the downside of marriage, but then in the next step, but if your partner's actually honoring and respecting you as as any man is supposed to, everything's gonna be great.
Married people do, they'll be like, yeah, but marriage is hard. It's hard. You know who says that? Women say that to other women, and men say that to women. And there's you have all these women, especially if they're mothers, and they're drowning. They're drowning. And then all them other women who are in the same type of marriage are like, yeah, but it's hard. It's hard. It's just marriage. No!
So here Mel talks about how, I guess, the message being broadcast by married women and men, and I guess all women in general, is that marriage is hard, and marriage is supposed to be hard, and it just is hard in general. Like, those people are right. However, like, marriage is hard. Like, I've been a married man going on 15 years, and I can honestly attest marriage is hard. Like, does that mean it's bad? However, like, it's hard whether you like it or not. You pledge the rest of your life to someone, you start finding faults with them after a while. Eventually, there are things you didn't notice that will start to creep up. Kids show up after a while. Your relationship will get tested, and yeah, like, I'm not honestly sure what her point is, or if she's just proclaiming that every married person points out that marriage is hard. But, like, counter to her point, like, those people are right.
Life is hard. A partnership with two people who have opposing thoughts sometimes and have different traumas and all upbringings, you are going to crash and collide some. Growth is hard. They call it growing pains for a reason. So a lot of times the reason why my marriage is hard, it's not the marriage, it's my growth. I'm having to learn how to face a lot of my shit.
So she kind of points out the obvious again. Like Melanie basically states what I was stating. Like life is hard, marriage is hard. Like, life is hard. Life being married is hard. Like two opposing people with different thoughts and personalities, whatever I said earlier. Like she talks about it now. It's not marriage per se. Well, it's growth this time. And I guess at this point here, I'm questioning her earlier lamenting about how women are exploited by marriage. Like women are manipulated into thinking that being miserable is normal. And now she's saying, well, no, it's not marriage. That's just life. And life is about growth. And growth is hard. It's not my marriage, it's my growth. So I'm not sure where she's at with this right now. But I didn't include a little bit after this, but Melanie does talk about her personal marriage and how she had to learn to face her personal issues and how she gets triggered, how her past trauma comes into play, and of course, unpacking the patriarchy with her and her French wimp husband, and they're working on together. But she does continue saying, like doing all that work in a marriage, the personal growth with that other person, like that is hard. But here's the final clip.
Never feels hard in terms of the marriage. It feels hard in terms of learning how to be patient, learning how to, do you know what I mean? What's hard, because I've been in terrible relationships, what's hard is knowing that you're being exploited, knowing that you're not even liked by the person fucking you, knowing that you're replaceable, feeling invisible, feeling utterly alone in a marriage. That's fucking hard. If that's the case, you shouldn't be married.
So Melanie's 100% correct here, and it kind of speaks for the entire video. Like, marriages are great. As a married man, I 100% endorse marriage. But, and I'll say again, but if that marriage is terrible, if you're being exploited, if you feel replaceable, if your partner doesn't even love you, then you need to get the hell out. If you can't communicate, communication being the number one key to any marriage. If you can't communicate with your partner, if you can't get therapy, if you can't fix this marriage, or ask yourself, is that marriage even worth saving? Then you need to get divorced. I agree with Melanie completely. Like, that must be the worst feeling in the world. Like being with someone, especially in a marriage where it's two people bound who are supposed to be bound by love, yet you feel invisible and you feel alone. Like, I can't imagine how much that must hurt, being a married man. And that's like, to me, that's total grounds for divorce. I never thought I'd advocate or endorse divorcing, but like Melanie's right. If that's how you feel, or through wanting to the beginning of this video, like if all marriage is to you is like some domestic servitude misery, then you need to get out. Like, you need to question your marriage, and you need to try to communicate that. And then if you can't, or if it's not worth it, then you need to think hard on whether you want to be there. Like every person, whether they're man or woman, they deserve to be happy, and marriage should be all about happiness. You should be happy to be with that one special person. That you deserve to be happy. Like, no one should be neglected. No one should be alone. No one should be used or abused. And if you can't fix that, you need to part ways. Like, that's what I take here from Melanie's video. And that's the end of her video there. But yeah, that was another one of Melanie Bartlett's videos, and I wanted to, real quick, I wanted to throw some comments in here that I got from my first video review. And guys and girls, I do appreciate every comment I get. Like, literally, I whether it's good or bad, or whether it's just straight criticism, I love getting comments. Like, I love seeing people engage me and sending me emails and just leaving comments. And whether they're good or bad, it's all good. And the comments I got in the last video, that's what caused me to do a double take here to reassess whether my original review of Melanie Bartlett's video was fair. Um, but here's the first comment, and it states, "You're wrong in so many things. But one of them is that marriage is a flex for a woman, and it is all that women want. I had an effing dream wedding and a gown, as you described, but my marriage didn't last because of his abusive tendencies. It indeed was a trap to me, so no, I don't want a marriage again. If it doesn't go hand in hand with respect and treating me with kindness, and my experience is not unique, to say the least, hence you are so wrong. As a married man, you certainly never dealt with a man as a woman, so please, reconsider your position. Let women speak of their experience and listen to them carefully. You will learn." So that was my first comment that I chose. And, sad to say, looking it over, the person who left this comment apparently was in an abusive marriage. And they state that it was a trap, and that their experience was not unique, unfortunately. And this person actually asks me, to reconsider my position, let women speak and listen, you know, like I totally, I don't want to advocate divorce, but anytime a woman gets treated in an abusive manner, if she's in a marriage that's just killing her spirit, a divorce is the right way to go. And this one commenter, she mentioned she's never dealt with men as a woman. And yeah, that is true. And that's why, like I said, that's why I'm doing a double take here and reassessing my first original review of Melanie's video. But here's another comment, everyone. And this is a comment left on this comment. So it's like comment on a comment. But anyways, she states, "I got married and the man financially abused me, saddling me with all their bills and constantly pressuring me to buy him things. He even punched me when I told him to get a job. It was terrible. Now I'm jaded and not eager to marry like I once was. My current BF tries to pin me as a typical girl who's trying to pressure him into marriage, but I'm really not. However, I realize he probably wants me to get married one day, so I bring it up at times to make sure we are compatible. I like the idea of marriage still, but absolutely do not want to jump into it with the wrong person. Nor do I want to waste time dating someone who doesn't see himself marrying me. I feel like men fantasize about women being desperate to marry them and that he needs to push her away, probably as a type of revenge for them being constantly denied by women." So this is another story of a woman who was financially and possibly physically abused, and it sounds like she's really unsure of what to do with her current BF. Like, she wants to get married, but she's kind of seeing where he's at. Like, will this be worth it? It's sad that, how she seems to be really jaded now. But it is good, in my opinion, that, she's weary and she's cautious of marrying. Because marriage, everybody, believe it or not, coming from a married man, marriage is not a commitment to be taken lightly. It's not just a weekend in Vegas. It's something that you should do only with that person is serious, and they have feelings for you the way you have for them, and that's what marriage is all about. So just by those two comments right there, and those are two I just chose. One thing that jumped out at me with both of them is that these women were abused in their marriages, and they ended up getting divorced for that reason, as they should have. So women who have that sort of background of abuse and who have been divorced, like I can understand why they might listen to someone like Melanie Bartlett, that gave me some insight. Like as a man and as a married man, I see so many men, like guys who have been divorced, who have had failed marriages. These guys, they flock to those red-pilled NGTOW, like men's relationship YouTubers. They seek solace, they seek advice, like they seek kinship. And a lot of those YouTubers, they preach They preach that they're here to guide men and to educate men, to steer men in the right direction so they won't make the same mistakes. Um, and looking at Melanie, I see something really similar. Women with similar backgrounds of divorce and abuse, and they find her, they listen to her, what she has to say. I and they take her advice. They get that sense of kinship and solace. Like this person understands me. They've been there and done that. So as a man, I can relate how people who are lost, so to speak, find someone who has a similar mindset. But all I can say is that, like, as I was saying, with those red pill male YouTubers or with Melanie, like, even if she is a journalist and, is all over social media, like, one thing I can really say is this, like, don't take these people's words as gospel if you understand the reference, Like, beware of false prophets. Like, if you understand the references where I'm going with this. Like the red pills spawned the MGTOW movement. And that movement is literally these guys telling men to give up on relationships altogether. On the other side of the spectrum, you have the blue pills spawned by feminism. And these are types that they blame men. They say, beware of men, or they say, we don't need men. They blame the patriarchy. Like from what I see is like it's a red pill versus blue pilled world out there. But me, however, as a married man, like that's all I am is a married man here. I don't pretend to be a relationship expert or a love coach and whatnot. I do try to be impartial. I don't try to give life advice other than just saying that, you know what, I endorse marriage. I believe in marriage founded by love. I believe in marriage and I believe in having children and building a family. Like that's my life advice. That's all the advice I'll ever give anyone. I guess all I can really say to the women out there and to the men is to make your own judgments. Don't blindly follow internet relationship gurus who are pushing life advice, as well as pushing their merch. Like I do understand Melanie Bartlett a little better now. I did watch a bunch of her videos on TikTok and the variety of subjects about relationships and love that she makes these videos on. I see why she has a big following. And it's the reason, once again, I wanted to take a second glance at her and her advice to try to get a better perspective of what a woman kind of preaches. But in clothing, like I said, to the ladies and gentlemen out there, think twice before you take advice from these people. These people that preach cures and fixes and they give the, a life advice. And because remember, this advice, it can really change the course of your life. It can change your whole mindset, your whole attitude on how you interact with others. It's not their life it's not their life they're messing with. It's your life. So remember that. Talking is one thing, but acting is a whole other thing. So I'm not really sure what else to say at this point. I really tried to be impartial here. I did try to see kind of Melanie in a new perspective. But at the same time, I see her as kind of just a female version of these men's relationship, MGTOW, red pill, YouTube big mouths who preach to men. But let me know what you guys think. Like the men and women listening, like what are your thoughts on Melanie Bartlett? What are your thoughts in general on these internet relationship experts and on marriage and on everything else like that I tried to cover today? Like feel free, guys. Leave me some more comments. I love them. I do read them. I try to answer some of them respectfully. And I do appreciate everyone who takes the time to write those comments. Of course, I appreciate you watching. I love you more to death. If you do end up subscribing, it really helps me out. But if there's something else you want to add, if you want me to add, if there's a video topic, if there's a story you want to tell or for me to cover, you can always email me at asamarriedman@outlook.com. But I just want to say one more time, guys, I appreciate you all. I want to thank you all. I hope you're still listening, and I hope to see you at my next video. Bye for now.